What was the weirdest text that was accidentally sent to you? When I changed my phone number back in 2019, I got the old number of a guy in his 20s who lived in the same city. Apparently, he lived quite the exciting life. For years after that, I received calls and texts from his friends and family looking for him. They'd say things like, "Hey, we're going out tonight. Are you coming?" I'd respond, "Oof, thanks bro, but this isn't Ethan." They'd ask, "Oh, who are you?" And I'd reply, "A single mum in her late 30s. One time, someone even said, "You can come too." I laughed and said, "Haha, thanks, that's nice of you, but I haven't been clubbing since like 2006. They insisted, "We'll pick you up if you break something. Come get crunk." It was absolutely hilarious. Story 2. A woman kept texting me saying, "Stacey, I need to cancel my yoga class for tomorrow." I told her numerous times that I wasn't Stacey and that she had the wrong number. However, she insisted that she was right and told me to stop playing around and act professionally. So the next time she texted me, I decided to play along. I replied, "Per the cancellation policy you agreed to, we do not allow cancellations within 48 hours of the class. If you still want to cancel, you will be charged for the cost of the session, plus a $25 administrative fee. Please let me know how you would like to proceed." I didn't hear back from her for about 2 hours. Then I received another message that said, "Sorry, I guess I really did have the wrong number. Have a good day." Story 3. My dad often receives random voicemails from a little kid who seems to be trying to tattle on his friend. The kid always sounds genuinely upset, as if he's calling his friend's mom to report some misbehavior. It's clear that the child has the wrong number, but he hasn't figured that out yet. Each time he leaves a message detailing whatever his friend has done to upset him. Story 4. I once received a text that just said, "No, Gina, she swallowed them all. I told her she can't overdose on fish pellets, but she'll probably get some bad gas." What an attention seeker. So, here's the story. Apparently, a grown woman got drunk and decided to eat a bunch of fish food pellets. I'm not sure what possessed her to do that, but I guess people do strange things when they're under the influence. Before delving into the next regrettable recap, please remember to like and subscribe if you'd like us to create more of this content. Thank you. Story 5. I recently received a message from an unknown number. When I opened it, I discovered that it contained pictures of a baby who had passed away shortly after birth. The images showed the infant in the hospital, and it seemed that the sender was sharing these photos with family and friends to keep them updated. It was clear that the sender had mistakenly sent the message to the wrong number, but I couldn't help but feel deeply moved by the situation. Losing a child is an unimaginable tragedy, and my heart went out to the family experiencing such a profound loss. I decided to reply to the message with sincere condolences. I let the sender know that they had reached a wrong number, but I also expressed my sympathy for their loss. I thought it was important to acknowledge their pain and offer a few kind words, even if I was a stranger. I also wanted to make sure that the sender was aware of the mistake in case there were others waiting for an update on the baby's condition. It seemed like the right thing to do. Story 6. I've been receiving a lot of strange WhatsApp messages lately, and they all have one thing in common. People are trying to buy drugs from me. The funny thing is, I've never sold or even done drugs in my life. It seems that every few weeks I'll get a message from someone asking for a specific drug. When I reply to let them know they've got the wrong number, their reactions vary. Some will immediately block me, while others accuse me of messing with them. There have even been times when they've called me, only to find out that I'm not the person they were looking for. What's even more puzzling is that these messages always come from people who are far away from me, like on the other side of the country. I can only assume that there's a drug dealer out there who has a phone number very similar to mine. It's become a bit of a running joke among my friends, who now teasingly refer to me as the accidental drug dealer. I've considered changing my number, but part of me finds the whole situation strangely amusing. Story 7. One day I received a text message that made my jaw drop. It was from my mother, and it read, "Hey bro, can you call me for sex?" Now, before you jump to any conclusions, let me explain. My name is Brian, but my mum often calls me Bree for short. She had intended to ask me to call her for a sec, meaning she wanted to talk to me for a second. However, her phone's autocorrect feature had other ideas. It took 2 unfortunate typos to turn an innocent request into something that sounded like a proposition from an adult film. When I saw the message, I didn't know whether to laugh or cringe. I knew it had to be a mistake, but the phrasing was just too hilarious not to share with my friends. When I called my mum back, we had a good laugh about the whole situation. She was mortified when she realized what her message actually said, but she couldn't help but see the humor in it too. Story 8. I recently received a strange photo from an unknown number. It was a picture of someone's driver's license, which wouldn't be too odd on its own. However, what caught my attention was the last name on the license. It was the same as mine. Now, my last name is pretty uncommon. In fact, I've never met anyone outside of my immediate family who shares it. So, you can imagine my surprise when I saw it staring back at me from a stranger's ID. At first, I thought it might be a distant relative that I'd never heard of before. But as I looked closer at the photo, I realized that I didn't recognize the person at all. They had a completely different first name and looked nothing like anyone in my family. Story 9. So I got this text message out of the blue from a woman I'd never met before. She started going on about how much fun she had with me on some yacht and how she couldn't wait to see me again. At first, I thought it was just a case of mistaken identity, so I politely told her that she had the wrong number. But she seemed convinced that I was just messing with her. She kept insisting that we knew each other and that I was just pretending not to remember her. I didn't want to be rude, so I kept trying to explain that she had the wrong person. But no matter what I said, she just wouldn't believe me. Eventually, she even sent me a selfie of herself, thinking that it would jog my memory. That's when I realized that I needed to be a bit more direct. I told her to double-check the number she was texting, just to be sure. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as she did, her whole demeanor changed. She instantly started apologizing, saying how embarrassed she was for the mix-up. She thanked me for being so patient with her and for not just blocking her number right away. Story 10. A friend of mine told me about a wild incident that happened in his school's parent-student WhatsApp group. Apparently, one of the mothers sent a rather intimate video of herself that was clearly meant for her husband's eyes only. The thing is, this happened back before WhatsApp had the delete for everyone option. So once the video was out there, there was no taking it back. The mother quickly realized her mistake and started begging everyone in the group to erase the video from their phones. Story 11. When I got my new cell phone number, I quickly realized that the previous owner, a guy named Edward, had never updated his contact information on his social media accounts. As a result, I started receiving messages and calls from his friends and acquaintances, who all thought they were talking to him. At first, I tried to explain the situation to each person who reached out, but after a while, I found myself getting more and more involved in Edward's life. With each conversation, I learned new details about his relationships, his interests, and his daily routines. Before I knew it, I had basically become Edward. I was chatting with his friends, making plans, and even giving advice, all while pretending to be someone I'd never even met. It was a strange feeling, but I have to admit it was also kind of exciting. Of course, I never tried to be cruel or take advantage of the situation. The worst thing I did was probably ruining Edward's chances of buying a couch off Craigslist. The seller kept messaging me about it, but I got distracted by a framed horse photo in the background of the couch pictures. When the seller refused to throw in the horse for free, I decided the couch wasn't worth it. Oh, and there was also the time when Edward's church desperately needed a piano player for their service. They reached out to me thinking I was him, and I sent back a video of a cat smashing its paws on a piano keyboard. I have no idea if Edward ever actually played the piano or not. This whole being Edward thing went on for about a year until one day the messages and calls just stopped coming. It was kind of weird, actually. I had gotten so used to being a part of Edward's life that it felt like I had lost something when it all ended. I especially missed my chats with John, one of Edward's friends who was struggling with alcoholism. We had developed a really close bond over the months, and I worried about how he was doing without Edward to talk to. Story 12. So my youngest sister had just graduated high school and was really excited about starting her new life as a college student. She moved into an apartment with some roommates and was loving the whole experience of living on her own for the first time. One of the things she was most excited about was decorating her new place for the holidays. She and her roommates went all out, putting up a big Christmas tree and decking the halls with all kinds of festive decorations. My sister was so proud of their handiwork that she decided to send me a picture of the tree. She grabbed her phone, snapped a quick photo and hit send without really looking at what she was sending. Well, let me tell you, when I opened that message, I was not prepared for what I saw. Instead of a picture of a Christmas tree, I found myself staring at a photo of my topless sister. I was so shocked that my brain basically short-circuited. I must have made a pretty funny face because my wife actually took the phone out of my hand to see what was wrong. As soon as she saw the photo, my wife sprang into action. She immediately texted my sister, Kelly, not her real name, wrong photo. My poor sister was absolutely mortified when she realised what had happened. She couldn't apologise enough. For the next week, whenever my text alert would go off, I would involuntarily blurt out, Kelly's boobs, like some kind of weird PTSD response. It got to the point where I had to change my alert tone just to stop triggering the memory. Story 13. Every now and then I'll get a text message from an unknown number. It's always a woman, and she's always looking for someone who definitely isn't me. I'll politely let her know that she's got the wrong number, thinking that will be the end of it. But more often than not, the woman on the other end doesn't seem to want to let the conversation die. She'll start telling me that I sound like a really nice guy and asking me how I'm doing. Sometimes, just for my own amusement, I'll play along and chat with her for a bit. Here's where it gets weird though. Without fail, about 5 minutes into the conversation, I'll suddenly start receiving nude photos. And I'm not talking about your average selfies here. These women look like they could be straight out of an adult film. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on. These aren't really wrong number texts at all. They're bots or scammers trying to lure unsuspecting guys into some kind of trap. I've got to admit, part of me is curious about what would happen if I kept the conversation going. But the smarter part of me knows that nothing good can come from engaging with these kinds of messages. I always end up shutting the conversation down and blocking the number. But I can't help feeling bad for the people out there who might not be so savvy. It's easy to see how someone could get sucked in by the flattery and the promise of a sexy chat with a beautiful woman. Story 14. One day, while I was at school, I received a really strange text message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a creepy poem that went like this. Violets are blue, your blood is red, the window is open, I'm under your bed. At first I thought it was just a weird prank or a wrong number situation. But then I remembered that I had actually left my bedroom window open that morning. Suddenly the message took on a much more sinister meaning. I tried texting back, asking who was sending these messages and what they wanted, but I never got a response. The whole thing was starting to freak me out, and I couldn't focus on my classes for the rest of the day. As soon as school let out, I rushed home to check my room. I cautiously entered the house, half expecting some crazed killer to jump out at me from behind the door. I made my way to the bedroom, my heart pounding in my chest. I took a deep breath and knelt down to look under the bed, bracing myself for the worst. But there was nothing there, no mysterious intruder, no signs of disturbance, nothing at all. Story 15. Ah man, I've got a doozy of a texting mishap story from my college days. You know how sometimes you're messaging multiple people at once and you think, I'll never be one of those people who sends the wrong text to the wrong person. Yeah, well, famous last words. So there I was, texting this girl I was seeing at the time. We were keeping things pretty spicy, if you catch my drift. But at the same time, I was also chatting with one of my buddies about completely innocent stuff. Well, in a moment of total brain failure, I managed to send a rather intimate question meant for my lady friend, directly to my platonic pal. Do you want to be filled up with my warm, hot cum? As soon as I hit send, I knew I had royally screwed up, but it was too late. That text was out there in the world and there was no taking it back. My buddy fired back a screenshot of the message with a string of crying, laughing emojis. Dude, he wrote, I think you meant to send this to someone else. I wanted to crawl into a hole and die of embarrassment. But you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you the butt of your friends' jokes for all eternity. That screenshot made the rounds among my buddy group for years. Every time we'd get together for drinks, someone would inevitably bring it up and have a good cackle at my expense. They even threatened to read it out as a toast at my future wedding. Story 16. So, my brother and I are pretty close, but there are definitely some things I'd prefer not to know about his personal life, if you catch my drift. Well, the universe decided to have a good laugh at my expense the other day when I got a Snapchat message that was clearly never meant for my eyes. I opened the snap, expecting some silly meme or inside joke, but instead I was greeted with a text overlay that made my jaw drop. It said, and I quote, "Don't tell me you have a shit fetish, matter of fact, don't even tell me that you shit." Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. I immediately closed the snap and took a deep breath, trying to process what I'd just read. It was pretty clear that my bro had intended to send that message to his girlfriend. Story 17. I had a guy send me his abs and I told him it was the wrong number, but he wouldn't let it go, insisting that I was the girl he met at the club the night before. I told him again that it was a mistake, but he wouldn't have it. so I decided to mess with him for the next 7 hours while I was at work. For hours, I talked dirty to this dude. He kept begging me for a picture, so I told my co-workers about it and showed them the texts. Finally, I decided to send him a picture. I went to the bathroom, stripped, took a selfie and sent it to him. He was not ready for the heavily tattooed, bearded man giving him the Betty Boop pose. He did respond once more, saying, "That's messed up. You could have told me it was the wrong number." I only responded once more, simply asking him when he was going to take me out. Story 18. I had someone's parole officer call me looking for them. The parole officer said the person had given my number as their contact information. The parole officer called back and said I must know this person, since this was the number they had on file. But I'd had this phone number for almost 10 years at that point. It sounds like the person never intended to show up for their meeting with their parole officer. They must have given my long-standing number instead of their own, probably to avoid the meeting. Story 19. While interviewing for a job, I received an unexpected text from the woman who interviewed me. The text contained a photo of her posing in a top with an extremely revealing neckline. I felt uncomfortable receiving this photo, but I needed the job, so I responded as a new hire would. I told the woman that the photo made me feel uncomfortable and asked that she not send me such things in the future. It turned out the woman was actually sending the photo to her brother, who happened to have the same first name as me. This raised further questions, but I decided to drop the subject and simply promised to delete the photo. Though I deleted the photo, the image has remained in my mind ever since. Story 20. I was working as a shopper for an app-based grocery delivery service similar to Instacart. I texted the customer I was shopping for to let her know the store didn't have an item she had ordered. Her initial response was, "You're right, showering together does save water." A few minutes later, she followed up with, "Sorry, yes, that substitute is fine. Please like and subscribe if you'd like more of this content in the future." Now it's time for Today I Effed Up stories. Story 1. Today I effed up by not reading the small text on a mouthwash and wasting €150 in the result. Essentially, I quickly bought a small travel-sized bottle of mouthwash at the train station because I was in a hurry to catch a train to a very important meeting at a very expensive restaurant. It is really difficult to get a table at that specific location, and we had booked it almost a year in advance. Anyways, while running towards the train, I squirted the contents of the bottle into my mouth for a quick wash. Almost immediately, I regretted the decision because the whole inside of my mouth was suddenly on fire. Tears ran down my face, and it felt like gargling with acid. Even worse, I wasn't able to spit it anywhere because I was still inside the entrance hall of the train station. My initial idea was to gargle it until I got into the train and spit into one of the bathroom sinks there. Now I had to find a trash can and basically vomit into that thing. Nice man in a nice suit pukes into a trash can of a nice train station. Nice. I thought that was it, and I even caught my train in time. During the ride, I pulled out the bottle and read, "Mouthwash concentrate. You are supposed to put 3-4 drops of this into a whole glass of water." But I squirted like 40 drops of it into my mouth and chemically etched my tongue in the process. At the restaurant, we all ordered the same thing off the menu, a 5-course dish for €150. Everyone seemed to really enjoy the extraordinary flavours and compositions of the ingredients. I wasn't able to taste anything at all, except for the texture. One day later, I went to the doctor, and oh wonder, the mouthwash was so highly concentrated and had been in my mouth for so long that I won't be able to taste anything at all for the next 4-6 weeks. Story 2. Today, I effed up by misunderstanding a text from my wife. This wasn't today, it was actually Sunday. The other night, my wife and I were getting ready for bed and being kind of flirty. I had to use the restroom, so I stayed downstairs while she went up to bed. While I was sitting on the toilet, I got a text, "Bring a bucket and a mop." Crap, I thought. One of my kids must have thrown up. I finished my toilet business and went down to the basement to check the cleaning supplies. I found a bucket but couldn't find a mop. I found one of those squeezy sponge things, but the sponge was missing. Figuring the vomit was probably congealing by this point, I just grabbed the bucket and a bunch of paper towels and ran upstairs. I got to the upstairs bathroom and found no mess. I carried the cleaning supplies down to my kids' rooms, but found no vomit. I went to our bedroom and found my wife lying on the bed. She asked what had taken me so long, and I said I couldn't find a mop, and where was the mess? She started rolling around on the bed, laughing. Suddenly I realized bring a bucket and a mop was a line from WAP. WAP, wet ass pussy. My wife had been in the mood, and I had spent 15 minutes looking for a mop in the basement. She was laughing so much that the mood was basically dead. Story 3. Today I effed up by texting my date that I might end up marrying him seconds after we ended our date. This just happened to me, literally 10 minutes ago. I am dying. I am dead. End me now, oh holy ghost. I thought this only happened in some poorly written romantic comedies. The kind where life hardly imitates the real one. I want to bury myself and never come to see the light again. Why me? Oh, why me? 10 painfully long minutes ago, I, exalted by the wonderful date I went on with this handsomely gorgeous man, who also happened to be a friend of mine for the last 3 years, leaned against my apartment door that I had just closed on his beautiful face. I typed these words that will fiercely haunt me now. Bitch, I think I'm going to end up marrying this guy. This was meant for my best friend, the only other soul I could muster to express my vulnerable feelings to. I sent this deeply poetic text to him instead. Do you think there is a void big enough on this planet to hold all my misery? All the embarrassment? Do you think I can make a pact with the devil to turn back time? I would just need 10 minutes. That would be really nice. Can I please die now? Literal and metaphorical death is the only relief I might know. I am currently in my library, sprawled across the floor, intently staring at the ceiling. Man, I think I'll be here forever. Story 4. Today, I effed up by playing my BF's text out loud on my car's speakers while my girlfriends were with me. This happened about 6 weeks ago when I was driving my girlfriends back from a trip we took out of town for the weekend. We were a group of about 5 girls and I was the driver. Now my car can play text messages when I'm driving, so I don't have to pick up my phone. I got a message from my boyfriend. 3 of the girls were asleep except for my friend in the passenger seat. I didn't think twice and hit play. That was my first mistake. My car starts talking in that robotic Siri voice and without shame goes, I just want to bend you over so bad right now. At this point, I'm rushing to unplug my phone or mute the speakers or something. My friend in the passenger seat is dying from laughter. I was red with embarrassment. I told my boyfriend later and he apologized but laughed too. Anyway, lesson learned. Never play boyfriend's texts out loud through my car when I have passengers. Story 5. Today I effed up by sending my dad the wrong text. To preface, this happened yesterday and I'm still processing and trying to come to terms with the fact that this is what I have to live with moving forward in my life. I had a stressful week with school, work, running errands, arranging pet sitting while I'll be gone, numerous other unnecessary stresses, change of plans, and packing for my week-long trip to Virginia. Yesterday in particular was super stressful. I came home from an overnight stay at a new sexual partner's place, Nick. I was texting Nick, my best friend, my sister-in-law, my stepmom, and my dad all at the same time. You can probably already guess what happened. I was texting Nick. We were reflecting on the night before. My dad suddenly texted wishing my sister and me a safe trip and all that good stuff. I finished my text to Nick and was replying to my best friend, whom I had already been texting prior to my dad. While I was texting my best friend, I received a question mark reaction text from my dad, which left me confused for a split second because I hadn't responded to him yet. Lo and behold, of course, I sent the inappropriate text to my dad instead of to Nick. If my life, I am mortified to say the least. My soul left my body. I screamed my lungs out for the next 10 minutes, trying to decide if this is the sign to jump off the bridge. Sorry, Dad, you don't deserve more grey hairs. Story 6. Today I effed up by asking my BFS mum to read my text while I was driving. Some background of the story, my boyfriend sold his RV to a lovely family he met on a platform like Facebook Marketplace. He forgot that the vehicle actually had 2 keys and he only gave them 1. He was at work, so he was unable to give them the second key. He called me in a panic because he had no idea where this key was, so he asked me to find it and bring it to the people who bought his RV. I'm uncomfortable meeting strangers from the internet, so I asked his mother if she could go with me, and I offered to give her a ride home as she does not drive. I didn't tell him she was going with me, important to the story later. He kept texting me, and by the 3rd text, I thought there was something wrong or something I needed to know. I asked his mum if she could read me what he said because I don't text and drive. She started reading his text. OMG, thank you so much. Tonight I'm going to get you off so hard, your head will spin. An awkward silence ensued, and she broke it by saying, okay then. I asked her just to respond, saying that she was texting so he would stop sending dirty messages to prevent further awkwardness. She responded by calling him his childhood nickname and saying, "This is your maternal figure, your girlfriend is driving." He responded with, "Well, this is super awkward. We laugh about it now, but never again am I letting people read my texts. If it is important enough, they can call." Story 7. Today I effed up by drunk texting my childhood crush. So I've had this crush on this very pretty girl for a couple of years. My friend wanted to go drinking with me at a hotel. We bought 6 soju bottles, some water bottles, and a card game to go with. I'm going to tell you now that I absolutely got wasted. I don't drink much because I cannot stand the taste, but I soon did get used to the taste and was able to drink a bottle or two. Fast forward, my friend wanted to end the game because he knew I was getting absolutely hammered. Before I couldn't stand or text, I told him to make sure I don't text or call anyone. And as you can see where this led me. He called an Uber for me. I could barely walk straight without tumbling or getting distracted. Everything was spinning. It was absolutely horrible. We got into the car, I pulled out my phone and started texting. With words of regret, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I have ever made you uncomfortable. You're so pretty. You know I had an obsession with you since middle school. My friend saw me text this, but he didn't say a damn word nor try to take my phone away. It's 6 a.m. I'm getting ready for school with a raging headache and my legs are fuzzy as hell. I'm afraid to go on Instagram to see if she replied or saw. I don't even know which is worse, her leaving me on scene or her replying. I have band class with her too, first thing in the morning. I have never, ever felt so awful and regretful. Man, I don't even want to go to school just because I don't want to see her." Update. She responded on Instagram an hour ago. However, I do not want to open it. Not yet, at least. I'm terrified. My self-esteem isn't too well to just confront her at all. I wish it was, but even if I do go up to her and fess up, my knees will shake, my voice will be shaky, and I'll have cold hands. It's easier said than done to just fess up. I'll open up the reply soon. Update. I opened up the message. I should add before I say anything, we used to be friends, but I've grown distant because I didn't show up to school at all for a year and isolated myself, which made me very scared to talk to her about everything. I also said sorry if I've ever made her uncomfortable because when we were friends in my little friend group, I was pretty touchy with her. Well, not just her, but everyone. I'm a touchy person, but I grew out of that in the year of distance. Her reply, "Oh, don't worry about it. You haven't made me uncomfortable at all. It's good to know someone thinks I'm pretty." We became distant, and that's fine. That was her reply. I don't know where to go anymore, but I replied with, "Oh yeah, sorry about the distance, haha. If you'd want, we can catch up a bit. If you're okay with that, I'm still very sorry about the drunk text." I got a reply back, by the way. She said she wants to catch up and that the old friend group I had also wants to talk to me. To be honest, I think I am thankful. Story 8. Today I effed up by texting the wrong person. This happened yesterday morning. I'm a night shift nurse at a long-term care facility. I had a resident fall during the middle of the night. Per policy, the physician must be notified of all falls and incidents. Normally, when there is no injury to the resident, I'll just text the doctor to notify him of the fall. I do this to avoid waking her up in the middle of the night for a non-emergency. Fast forward to 7 a.m. It's the end of my 12-hour shift. I'm exhausted and starving, so I decided to text my husband who was at home to see if he wanted to grab some food. The text I sent said, "Want to meet me at the Waffle House, you sexy bitch?" I pressed send, and in that split second, I realized I had texted the doctor instead of my husband. It was like slow motion. I literally looked at the name at the very moment my thumb touched the send button. I immediately panicked and texted back saying, "I am so sorry, that was meant for my husband." He texted back, "I hope so." Now I have to look this man in the eye the next time he is in the facility. I'm seriously thinking about quitting. Story 9. Today I effed up by giving a dude head and texting my mum about it. This happened about 10 minutes ago. I'm recently single, living with my sister and her family. My mom and I talk every day, but I don't tell her about the dumb things I do. Anyway, I've been spending time with this guy that's definitely bad news. He works a ton, but he's a goddamn mess. My mom knows that I've been seeing this guy because my sister told her. She interrogated me about it tonight. I tried to say good things about him because otherwise it reflects badly on me. Anyway, the guy and I are hanging out tonight drinking whiskey and beer. We have sex. I get off, but he doesn't. I decide to go down on him. And he fucking falls asleep in the middle. Obviously, I stop and try to text my best friend about it, except I text my mum and say he fell asleep with his dick in my mouth. I immediately text her back saying that wasn't meant for her. So she's going to wake up tomorrow to go to yoga and see how I had some drunk dude's dick in my mouth who passed out. I don't know if she'll be more upset that I texted her in the middle of the night or that I'm apparently so bad that dudes pass out on me. Story 10. Today I effed up by texting my boyfriend. Okay, first of all, I am beyond humiliated right now and I'm literally shaking. This happened about an hour ago and my stomach is churning. Oh my God. So I have a boyfriend and he is great. He's very kind, loving and respectful. He lives at home with his parents and he has a traditional stepdad. Don't get me wrong, he can be really cool and he's a great guy, but he doesn't like curse words or anything sexual. Keep that in mind. He's really against it, even though his stepson is 19 and has a girlfriend, LOL. Anyway, I was going to go over to his house today to hang out and I texted him, "Hey, I'm coming over." For reference, this is a joke he and I have. One time we got really high together and he said that and spelled out coming and it was just really funny. So now when we let each other know we're headed to their house, we text that. I thought it was an innocent, funny text to my boyfriend. Boy, was my timing wrong. Little did I know, his stepdad was looking at his phone at some guitar clips. My boyfriend plays guitar and was showing him a video of him playing a song. And his stepdad saw my message, with my name clearly above it. Needless to say, he exploded on my boyfriend and got super pissed, asking why I was texting him such vulgar things. He said it was even more disrespectful since I used the halo emoji, LOL. Now his stepdad is saying I need to attend church with them. I felt so bad when he told me, and now I feel even worse and anxious because now I have to deal with that awkward energy when I go over to his house next. I literally don't even know what to do. My boyfriend thinks this is just hilarious, but I'm dying inside. Story 11. Today I effed up when I sent an explicit text to the wrongest person possible. A while back, my wife and I were cozied up on the couch when my adult stepson, who never leaves the house and rarely leaves his room, video games, came downstairs to announce he was going out for a couple of drinks with friends on the following Tuesday. I had just recently told my wife how I wished he would get out more, if for nothing else, so we could get freaky in our house wherever we like without having someone pop out of his room and interrupt. He has a knack for coming down at the most inopportune moments. Shocked and excited, I immediately texted my wife, even though she was sitting next to me on the couch. "Looks like I'll be fucking your brains out right here on this couch next Tuesday." I looked over at her with a mischievous grin for a response, but she had none. Maybe she didn't get it yet, I thought, so I waited. Then I got a return text. "Geez, I hope not. Mum," I had texted my mother earlier in the day and was still on that chat, not my wife's. I screamed, "No!" and curled into a ball on the couch to die. My wife was dying with laughter when I explained it to her. That Tuesday night out never even happened. Story 12. Today I effed up by accidentally texting my husband. This was not actually today, but it was recently enough that I thought I'd share. My husband, my cat, and I are chilling when suddenly my husband farts loudly. Seemingly as a reaction with perfect timing and a traumatized facial response, my cat gets up and ditches. I start cracking up and immediately text my sister. Bob farted and Pumpkin left. But it turns out I accidentally texted my husband instead of my sister about himself farting. He opens the text and shows it to me. I am utterly confused for a moment about how he has this text. Then it registers that I texted him making fun of him and I start cracking up even harder. My pregnant self, not slightly, but completely loses bladder control. Now every time I make fun of my husband, he says, "Are you going to text me about it?" Or alternatively, "Are you gonna pee about it?" Story 13. Today I effed up by texting my son in the middle of the night. So we were leaving on a trip a few months ago. I work night shift. We were leaving as soon as I got home. I'd get home around 6 a.m. and then sleep in the car while my wife drives. This saves us a bunch of time. I remembered something I forgot to tell my 13-year-old son. He's the oldest of 4. So I texted him, not even realizing that it's like 1 a.m. I didn't think anything of it, but I got a call about an hour later from my wife. She's laughing so hard she can hardly tell me what happened. My son got the text but was so sleepy he didn't even think about what the noise was. He assumed it was his alarm and got up to get ready. Well, he woke the other three and told them it's time to go. So he showered and got ready. They all got up, got dressed, and got their luggage ready. He went to get my wife and didn't know why she was still in bed. She's always the first up. Then he looked at the clock and it was like 2 a.m. Then he saw my text and realised it wasn't his alarm. I guess I'm lucky he's so responsible. Story 14. Today I effed up by not putting my name in an intro text message to a girl who gave me her number. So this happened a couple of weeks ago, but here we go. I'll call myself Hannah, and I had been talking to a girl, Ashley, exclusively on Tinder for a couple of weeks. She seemed like one of the most interesting girls I've talked to in a long time, and we had a lot in common. She invited me to meet up and go to the movies, and we had a blast. Normally, movie dates can be kind of awkward because you can't really talk, but we were the only ones in the theatre, so we could. We ended up hanging out afterwards and had a lot of fun and eventually went home. But before I left, she said, "Hey, you should probably have my number now so we can hang out again." So I took her number and went home. It was pretty late, so I waited until the following morning to text her. I sent her a message saying, "Hey, it's me. Sorry I didn't text you last night, but here's my number." She responded with the basic, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" We continued to talk for about 2 more weeks and kept trying to make plans, but we had conflicting schedules, so it was tough. But eventually we decided to go to a local bar and do karaoke. So she texts me the night before and goes, "Hey, is it okay if Melissa and her girlfriend come with?" So I ask, who's Melissa? She responds with, "Oh, she said she works with you." I say, "Where does she work?" And she explains to me that she works at some gym. I explain to her that I work at a restaurant. She goes, "Is this Julia?" And I said, "No, this is Hannah." Turns out her friend Melissa had given her a girl's number a couple of days prior to us hanging out. And because I didn't give my name in the initial message, she thought I was this Julia girl. She said she thought that I totally ghosted her. So I have been talking and crushing on a girl for 2 weeks that thought I was someone completely different and had no idea. Story 15. Today I effed up by abandoning my GF. So over the past few weeks, my girl has been carless. So being the considerate individual I like to pretend to be, I've been offering to drive her to and from work. It's about 7 p.m. and I'm on my way back from work. I give her a call to double check what time she would be done for the night, and we establish that I'll pick her up at 9 o'clock. My exact words were, "Absolutely, I'll be there at 9. Rookie mistake, not leaving a room for error. Exactly 50 minutes later, my phone buzzes for a reminder notification. Tip off for the Wizards. Warriors game is in 10 minutes. Fuck, my mind is racing. Did I buy tickets? Oh my God, is it February? How could I have forgotten Mr. Curry was coming to the district tonight? I call my buddy Tim immediately. "Tim, where are you right now?" To which he replies, "I'm on my way to class. What's up?" Tim is in law school at Georgetown, so thankfully he's already in the city. I remind him about the game and the tickets we purchased way back in December, and we both panic for a split second. Tim asks, "So, what do we do? Are you coming?" I tell him about my prior arrangements with Olivia to get her at 9. I say I can't go, right? I can't just leave her stranded at work, right? Here's my thought process. Well, sure I can. Olivia is understanding. She knew about the game and would want me to go. I'll just call her a cab to make sure she gets home safely. There's no way she would be that mad at me. Brilliant! Time to execute said plan. I send a flurry of texts to Liv, the first being this: "Fuck Olivia, the basketball game is tonight." The second: "I literally just left my house. I'm already 10 minutes late, but Tim and I decided that we are going to go anyway. We both forgot, we have no idea how, and I'm sorry that I can't come pick you up." Now you may be thinking, why are you speaking in run-on sentences, man? Ever heard of punctuation? Yes, I have. However, at this particular moment in time, I was using my voice to text function because I'm flying down the expressway and I have no hands to text. I make it to the city, scoop my buddy from his apartment, then make it to our seats in time for the second quarter. At this point, it's about 9 o'clock and I haven't heard from Olivia yet. Tim's asking me how angry she's going to be and I assure him it's a non-issue. It was odd that I hadn't heard from her yet, so I step out to try to call her again. She answers, "Hello? Hey, Liv, I'm so sorry. Did you get my messages?" "Yeah, I got your message. Fuck you too. Have fun at the game." Click bewildered, I call her back. I assume she's upset because I didn't come to pick her up, so I tell her I'd call a cab for her to get back. I quickly realised that wasn't the problem. It was the first text I sent her. She thought I meant to send that to my buddy Tim, essentially saying exactly what the text said. Fuck Olivia, the basketball game is tonight. When what I meant to say was, fuck Olivia, the basketball game is tonight. We laughed about it this morning. I apologised profusely for the mess, but I'd probably do it again to see Steph drop another 51 points. Story 16. Today I effed up. I accidentally texted nudes to the guy who used to mow my lawn as a teen. I had a kid when I was 16. You grow up fast when that happens. I spent the next 20 plus years focused on supporting him and getting him through college with no debt. While he was in school, he met and married a single mum with a kid in elementary school. So in my late 30s, I became a grandmother and spent another 10 years helping a kid get through school and off to college. I didn't have a lot of me time. I didn't really date. I didn't drink or smoke or party. I got really into yoga and swimming. The result is that I look 10 years younger than my age. And when I really got back into dating, I was disappointed to realize it was hard to find men who'd made the same effort to stay attractive. And so I got into younger men, so pretty to look at, although usually not great for conversations or a meaningful connection. Looking for pics of hot younger guys is what originally brought me to Reddit and led me to create my first, now deleted, account. I was particularly drawn to a certain sub dedicated to a massive body part, because normal guys built like porn stars aren't something I've come across in the offline world. Most times I'd just look. Sometimes I'd comment, but more often than not that would lead to unwanted DMs and guys wanting to trade pics. That didn't interest me until the day it did. I'd been talking to a guy who was less than half my age, beautiful body, polite, and he didn't ask for pics, although he was definitely flirty. I lied about my own age. I didn't want to scare him off, so I told him I was 39. He kept sending me pics and short gifs using a chat app, usually undressing, and promising to tribute me if I shared pics. I didn't even know that was a thing prior to Reddit. Eventually I gave in and sent a pic back. Things escalated from there. Neither of us showed our face, but we sexted multiple times a week. This went on for months. Nobody knows a thing about it. Then a few weeks ago, I'm at my son's house and my grandson comes over with one of his friends who I've known since he was a kid. And friend rolls up his sleeve to show me his new tattoo, and I've already seen it. Earlier that week, when we were sexting, this kid is 19 years old and I've known him since he hit puberty. He used to mow my lawn for pocket money. He's my grandson's best friend, and for months I've been sending him pics of my tits and getting off to gifs of him masturbating to my pics. Story 17. Today I effed up by posting a text on FB that may have ruined the rest of my holidays. This happened yesterday. To give you some background, I'm a veteran with a morbid sense of humour and tend to be the mediator in my family. My husband is Chinese, also has US citizenship, but has no family in America. My mum has been a stay-at-home mum her whole life, very conservative, Christian, pro-America, and admittedly xenophobic. This year for Thanksgiving, we're doing something new. Everyone is bringing a dish to pass around. I was assigned bean casserole, but wanted to bring something extra. Having trouble deciding, I texted my husband for recipe ideas, asking, "Is there any holiday like Thanksgiving in China?" His response was, "No, because we didn't kill all the people already living there." I thought it was funny and posted this exchange on Facebook, leaving out my "ha ha ha, very funny ass" reply. I did this around noon, got a few likes and similar responses, then headed into meetings for the next 5 hours. During a quick break, I noticed my phone had blown up with notifications. My husband had texted, "People are sending me messages about your post. I never thought I would be part of a public Facebook drama. I am a little embarrassed. I was so careful." My heart sank. I hadn't told him I was posting our conversation, thinking it was harmless. I couldn't check what was happening as I had to return to a meeting that dragged on for another 2.5 hours. When I finally checked at 5 p.m, it was utter chaos. My mum had responded aggressively, criticizing my husband for speaking poorly of America and implying his home country was above reproach. She told him if he didn't like it here, he should leave. She even posted an article about terrible things China had done in its developmental stages. The situation escalated quickly, with my mum making several inflammatory comments about Asian history, communism, and American patriotism. She demanded an apology from my husband for insulting this country. and criticized me for not standing up for America. I tried to explain that it was a playful exchange, not meant to be a political statement. English is my husband's second language, and he often struggles to express himself accurately. He was just going for a cheap laugh, which he succeeded in getting from me. Despite my attempts to defuse the situation, my mum continued to argue, insisting that what my husband said was anti-American. She couldn't understand why she was wrong for defending America. The drama spread, with friends messaging us offering support and a place for Thanksgiving if needed. My husband's sister in China called him after reading the comments, and I worried about his family seeing this mess. In the end, I had to inform my mum that we wouldn't be attending Thanksgiving. She had effectively told my husband he wasn't welcome at family functions right before the holidays. Now I'm left trying to apologise to those who got caught in the crossfire, begging my sister-in-law not to tell their father, and dealing with the emotional fallout of this situation. The holidays are off to a great start, aren't they? I should mention that sharing text messages on Facebook isn't unusual for us. Our Facebook is mostly for college friends and close friends who live far away. It's our way of keeping people updated on our lives. My mum only joined Facebook about 3-4 months ago, and that's when the drama started. I've realised she's a bit of a troll, often leaving controversial comments on others' statuses. So while it might seem strange to some, sharing bits of our conversations is a normal part of our social media life. Story 18. Today I effed up by showing my friend texts between me and a girl. I'm going to start off by saying that this person was a really good friend before this incident, which is happening right now. It all started when I began seeing a girl. We quickly discovered that we share a similar sense of humour, often expressing fucked up thoughts and saying the worst things to each other. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, we love each other a ton. One day, I made the mistake of showing an out-of-context joke between us about her period to my friend. The joke involved us saying things like, "Bitch, you wanted this, you asked for it, you like this, don't you? Yeah, take this goopy mess, you little bitch," to each other. My girlfriend and I think it's hilarious, and in my stupidity, I thought my good friend would find it equally amusing. I couldn't have been more wrong. It turns out my friend is a self-proclaimed, huge feminist justice warrior ever. Her words, not mine. I had to Google justice warrior. She's now calling me every name in the book: sexist, misogynist, woman hater, insensitive CIS male, and so on. She's even started making inflammatory posts about me on Facebook and Twitter. The most messed up part of this situation is that my girlfriend was the one who said the things my friend is upset about. Now my girlfriend is defending me, and the two of them are fighting. My girlfriend has expressed that she wants me to drop this person as a friend. Things have escalated to the point where my former friend has threatened to bring her friends to teach me a lesson, as she told my girlfriend. My girlfriend laughed it off, telling her to go ahead and do it. She knows I can stand my ground and said she'll be there to watch. At this point, I'm not sure what to do. This situation has gone from funny to potentially dangerous, with me having to defend myself over my girlfriend's jokes about herself to some overly sensitive person. It's a mess, and I'm at a loss for how to handle it.